Hi, this is Chris from EssentialSQL. I wanted to thank everyone for the comments and questions I've received from my last video. It's really great to see that people are excited to learn SQL. As you know, in my most recent video, we talked about combining data. I talked about you can really make your life easier. I just wanted to say that you don't have to limit yourself to data in one table, rely on someone else to do your query, or pull your hair out being generally frustrated by it. There's truly power in knowledge, and by digging deeper into SQL, you gain the power to tap into your company's data. Really. You see, I've been working with SQL for over 20 years, and I really like teaching this stuff. I've had tons of industry experience, and more importantly, have a passion to teach and explain all of this to you. I really want to make it simple for you guys, and I feel and truly feel in my heart that by learning SQL, it can really unlock more potential for you to do more in your job. I've gotten quite a few questions from you, and I thought it would be really fun to answer one of those in this video. The question was, how do I find duplicate data in a table? Well, I thought about it, and I definitely show you how to do that, but the VentureWorks database is pretty clean. There isn't much duplicate data, so instead of finding duplicate data in the true sense of the word, I figured I'd show you how to find employees with the same birthday. So let's get started. Alright, so I've opened up SQL Server Management Studio, and I've selected, or will select here, the VentureWorks database. What I'm going to do is go into Tables. I'm going to show you the Human Resources Employee table. This is the table that has the birth date that we're going to find the duplicate on. So what we're going to do is take this table employee, use the birth date field, and we're going to match to another employee table. I'm going to do what's called a self join. It's when you join a table to itself to find those duplicate employees. So a self join is really just a fancy way of saying inner join. The difference is that inner join is a join where you take one table and match it to another table using one or more columns. And with a self join, it's kind of more restrictive, because what we're really doing is we're doing an inner join to the same table. So let's start a new query, and what I'm going to do here now is just kind of illustrate that self join a little more tangibly. So let's see if I can find the designer here. Right there it is. We're not going to use a designer to build the query. I just wanted to kind of show you a picture of the two tables side by side. So I'm going to add 2 here and close it. And let's scrunch some of this stuff down so it's not in our way. So again, I'm just doing this to show you the picture. What's interesting though is when you bring in the query, you're going to see I got the employee tables. It aliased them as employee 1 and employee 2, and it's trying to be smart and help us with a join here. And you can see where it related the tables using business entity. Because what it's doing is it's seeing that there's a primary key, and it's automatically pulling it in by that. We're going to get rid of that because that's not what we want to do. What we're going to do is actually match the two tables by birth dates, because we're going to use the fact that if the same birthday shows up in both tables, that there's a potential duplicate. And yes, I know if I show up in employee 1 table, I'm also going to show up in employee 2. But we'll deal with that. We'll get rid of the self matches. So let's begin with writing the real query. So what I'm going to do is, IntelliSense kind of always messes me up. So I'm going to write the from first. From human resources. And then I'm going to do the select. Must spell human resources wrong. Alright. And we'll select a couple fields. So we'll do, I'm going to alias this thing too. The reason I'm going to alias it is that when we do a self join, we want to make sure we're using the columns we're working with are from a specific table, and the column names aren't ambiguous. So we'll do the business entity ID, we'll do the birth date, and then just to kind of give us some more stuff to read about in the results, we'll do job title. All right, and then I'm going to order this by birth date because it'll help us understand the results down their own. So we'll do like E1 dot birth date. So let's run this. So I haven't done the join yet, but what I'm showing you is just the data here. So there's 290 employees in our table, and here they are listed by birth date. Now I guess if you wanted to, you could scan through this and you could probably find people that had the same birthday. For instance, right here is 2 of them. But that's kind of boring, especially if you're a huge company. You're not going to go through a list and do this. So what we want to really do is pull these people in and show a match between them. And when we match on the birthday, what will happen is we're going to get all combinations of records. So it's going to bring in a match where employee 206 matches with themselves, employee 206 will match with 23, employee 23 is going to match with 206, and then employee 23 is going to match with itself. So actually that's going to generate 4 result records from that match. So let's see that in action. So to do the join, I use the inner join clause, and so I'm going to, after the from, I'm going to say inner join, and then the table. So here we're going to do human resources employee, and now I'm going to alias this table as E2. Now this helps me to differentiate the columns between the 2 different tables. When you do a join, you also need to specify what are you matching on. So we're going to match on employee 1's table birth date equal to employee 2 table birth date. All right. Now let's add in employee 2 here, the business entity ID. And why we're doing this is just so we can see the effect of our match. Now I'm going to show you what happens if I don't do an alias. So let me just take it off here on birth date. You see how the editor gets a little fussy here? It puts a red line underneath. The problem is it's saying I got an ambiguous column name. It doesn't know if I'm dealing with birth date from employee table that we called E1, or is it from the one that we're joining to that's called E2. So this is where those aliases really come in handy. So I can just say E1 and we're done. All right, so let's run this. And you're going to see now that we have more rows. Where do my results go here? Hang on. Pull it up. Right. We have 312 rows. And that's because now we're pulling in those duplicate birthday entries. So I think you're also going to see where we're matching with ourselves quite a bit. Because I mentioned, if I'm in both tables, my birthday is going to be the same and I'm going to show up. So for instance, here you're seeing the sales manager, he's in E1 and E2, and so there's a match. But as you scroll down, we're going to find those folks that were had the same birthday, the marketing specialist and the product technician. So here you can see where they match to each other, where one matches to the other matches to the one, and then match the same again. So those 2 different employees with their birthdays, when they're self-joined together, actually result in 4 different combinations of rows. It's 23 matches to 23. So the marketing specialist matches to themselves. The marketing specialist matches to the product technician. The product technician matches to the marketing specialist, and the product technician matches to himself. So we now need to work on getting rid of the folks that match to each other. So what we can do on our join condition is add another criteria. So what I could do here is say inner join, and then I can say, and I can say E1 dot business entity ID does not equal E2 dot business entity ID. Now what this is doing is using the primary key of the table. Remember, employee resources. So the primary key is business entity ID. This is the unique identifier for the table. So by saying that they don't equal each other, what we're in effect asking for are for matches where employees have the same birthday, but they have a different ID, so they're a different person. So we're no longer going to see those matches where employee ID 23 is matching with themselves. All right, so let me pull this AND statement down to the next line, and this will allow me to read the query a little easier. And now let's run it, and we should see that we have less than 312 rows. So here, after I run it, you can see I have 22 rows. So there's 22 employees in our company that share the same birthday. And if you can see, here's the employees that we were just talking about, where it's employee 23 and employee 206, the marketing specialist and the product technician. But you don't see those matches where it was 23 to 23 and 206 to 206. So we now have a list of everybody, or all the employees that have basically duplicate birthdays. So hopefully you found this interesting. This is definitely a very good real-world example. It could be used in other areas. If you needed to work with other types of duplicate information, you could certainly add it on. So for instance, maybe, we won't do it here, but maybe it's I need to find all employees that have the same birthday and are of the same sex. So we could add that in here as another portion of our joint condition. So we would essentially just do human resource employee birth date equals birth date, and sex equals sex, and the business entity IDs are not equal. So we could keep adding data value or columns. So if your definition of duplicate data extends across several columns, they could certainly be added into the inner join to achieve that. So I hope you enjoyed this. Stick around. We'll be doing more examples in the future, and now I want to talk about some of the reasons why I think it's really easy to learn SQL and help you with that. So I just want to remind you that this is a skill that you could totally learn. You can do it. A lot of people are concerned about learning SQL. They feel it's too hard, they don't have enough time to devote, or they won't be able to get SQL Server installed and be able to use it. Well, I'm going to teach you SQL in a step-by-step manner. So we're going to talk about some things that are complicated, but my feeling is that if we take it a piece at a time and we learn that little piece, gain the foundation and the confidence, then as we build on to the statements and the concepts, the complexity will still be there, but it'll be manageable, and it really won't be that hard to learn. Also, as you've seen, I use these shorter videos, so it provides a easy way to learn a concept in a short amount of time. There's no need to attend a hour-long class or work 2-3 hours through problems to try to understand this on your own. I'm going to teach you what you need to know right now, what's important, in a step-by-step fashion. So we're going to cut through a lot of the unnecessary information, and it's going to be very efficient for you to learn this. And if you can't get SQL Server installed, I'm here to help you with that. You'll see at the bottom of this video I have a guide that goes through the process, and we'll get you up and running with SQL Server and AdventureWorks. So if you have questions about that, just email me and I can help you. So what's next? So in the next video, I'm going to pull together a couple of ways where we can use various methods to combine data in a case study. So we're going to actually solve a problem using unions and joins and subqueries. So it's going to give you a feel for how we can combine all these techniques together and really see where you can go with this. And by the end of the class, these are things you'll be able to do that you'll be able to achieve. So now what I'd like you to do is tell me about what you're excited about. What are you excited about learning about SQL? Also, what do you think about the training on duplicates? Do you have any questions about it? If you do, write a comment. I'd be more than happy to answer it. Take care.